So, chapter 10, The Shell and the Glasses. It's the aftermath of Simon's death, kind of solidifying his Christ like character and comparison to it. And Ralph and Piggy are having this conversation and recognizing that it's just them and Sam and Eric, just them four, and the little ones. But they don't count the little ones, sadly. And they're talking about what occurred the night before and Simon's death, and Piggy is trying to say that it was murder, right? And that it was Simon. And Ralph is trying to get him to stop, and they don't want to talk about it. They want to think about it. And I think partly is, as you see later on, is that they were a part of that whole dance, and they weren't actually part of the killing, but they were there when they saw it. And so I feel like in some ways they feel a little guilty about it. And so they don't want to talk about it because they don't want to acknowledge that it happened. And so there's this kind of gloom moment where they are recognizing the gravity of what had occurred. However, they go about and they recognize what they want to do, and that's to continue setting the fire for themselves to stay afloat and get rescued. But we also see how the other boys are operating, how the hunters are, and they're looking at Jack as a proper chief. So he's solidified himself as a proper chief. And when Roger comes in to try to join the boys, the hunters, he's met with this challenge. And the boys who challenged him kind of show that there's this very real weapon that is used to protect the rest of the hunters. And there's this huge rock that's stopped by another a lever, and that if that lever were to be removed, the rock would fall and crush anyone who's under it. And so that's just, man, to think that Jack would order something like that. And look at this, he's going to beat Wilfred, all because Wilfred just kind of annoyed him, and they don't even know why he's beating him. And but Jack also continues this idea that they need to keep hunting, they need to keep defending themselves, and they need to keep being wary of the other boys, Ralph and his friends. Um, and the other boys are like, well, why would they do that? And Jack, he's spilling these lies, he's spewing them out and trying to manipulate the rest of the hunters, and even manipulate them by saying that we need to protect ourselves from the beast. And the other boys are like, wait, didn't we kill the beast? But Jack, he's like, no, how could we kill it? And he's continuing that theme of fear and the necessity to keep people in fear. And he's even setting lies that it's the beast disguised himself to look like another boy. And then the need for fire comes up. And we'll see in the end of the chapter when Ralph and Piggy are sleeping and they're kind of in their own little conversation, they get attacked, right? And there's really this savagery of this attack. Um, we could look down. Uh, let's see, keep going down, keep going down. Like they hear this rustling outside their shelters, and they get scared, and they're listening, and then someone whispers, "Piggy, Piggy," and they're first thinking, "Oh my gosh, it's the beast." And they keep goading him on, and then all of a sudden there's this vicious snarling in the mouth, and there's hitting, biting, scratching. He was torn and jolted, found fingers in his mouth and bit them. And there's just this kind of savage element to this attack, and it's just this daunting scene. And finally, they leave and they destroyed one of the shelters, and Ralph recognized it was Jack and his hunters. And interestingly, they're like, "Why did he come?" Piggy thought that they wanted the conch. He, in his reason and intelligence, thought that they wanted the conch, which represents that civilization, order, um, and kind of normalcy and democracy and uh, power and authority, but really what they wanted was Piggy's glasses. They didn't care about that civilization. They wanted something that could help them, and it wasn't fire. They didn't want it to make a fire so that they could make smoke and get rescued. They wanted it because they wanted to cook their meat, right? They wanted that fire for their meat, and obviously they couldn't get it. But it kind of continues that just sad moment that um, the divide has become really, really wide, and it's becoming untenable and violent between the two forces.